Let's talk about the first booking I ever got through Scarlet Blue and what it was like. I did end up eventually firing this client, but that is a story for another video. I just kind of want to lay out how it went. I don't know, I feel like someone's going to be interested in this. Please excuse these two. They are just loving each other, but it will turn into a fight at some point. They will start biting each other, just so you know. Anyway, let's get into it. So I had my ad up on Scarlet Blue. It was the only place I had my ad at this point in time. And I think it had been up for about a week or two before I got the inquiry to do this booking. Now, this was a 3-hour out call to the Sunshine Coast. So I had a travel fee as well of about $400 on top of the booking fee. So somewhere around $3,000 is what I made for that first one, which is an insane amount of money. And part of me was like, am I going to get there and they're not going to pay me? Because that had been my experience sugaring, right? So I was very paranoid. I was very worried, but I did have a $600 deposit in my account. So at least I knew that I had something. At the time, I had no idea how to screen a client, which I'm never going to share with the general public how to screen a client, but I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have any friends in the industry. I didn't have any way to check if this guy had previously done anything wrong or if he had a criminal history. I didn't know anything. I had no idea how to do anything. I just willy-nilly went out there with the deposit and did the booking. Now, some things that probably should have been red flags, and because I was so green and had no help, I really didn't know. So in hindsight, we can look at those things now. Back then, I had no idea. Firstly, after paying the deposit, he continuously asked for more photos, which I was just sending him pre-taken photos I already had on my phone. So it wasn't really a lot of effort for me, but now I would never entertain or tolerate that kind of shit, like asking for extra photos and a lot of texting and chatting before the booking. Also, in the car on the way there, I had messaged him saying, hey, I'm leaving Brisbane now, like I'll be there on time kind of thing. He messaged me continuously the entire drive, even though I had said that I'd left and I was driving. So therefore, I cannot answer your fucking messages. And I'm certainly not going to pull over on the side of the highway to answer a fucking text message. There's just no way. Anyway, I get out there. It is an Airbnb, so like a little kind of unit sort of thing. And it was fine. It wasn't anything fancy. It was just like an average, like 3-star Airbnb kind of deal. He had a bottle of champagne, which he opened when I got there, seemed really friendly, but there was just something really unusual about his energy. And I just thought I was being paranoid back then. And about half an hour into the booking, after a few drinks, he tried to initiate things. At this point, I still hadn't even been paid because I didn't have any fucking mentor, I didn't have any help, so I hadn't got there and been like, where's my money? I had just started the booking assuming I would get paid at some point, and I knew I wouldn't start actually doing the thing until I was paid, right? So he tries to initiate the smexy time itself. And I say to him, babe, I haven't been paid yet, like, can you pay me? And he did. He had it sitting there in an envelope, which he handed to me. However, when I wanted to count the envelope, he seemed to keep trying to talk and distract me from counting the money, which I also found really weird. However, I was not shortchanged. There was nothing wrong with the money, but it was a little bit of a struggle to get through that part of the booking. Now that I'd been paid, we went and sat back in the lounge room and we were finishing off the half-drunk glass of champagne, talking and I guess trying to get back into the mood now that the sequence of events had been interrupted with me asking for the money, which should have been handed to me the second I fucking walked in the door, like within the first 5 minutes. Anyway, sitting there in the lounge room and he's talking to me about his girlfriend. And he's saying, you know, I have this beautiful girlfriend, she's 20 years younger than me, blah, blah, blah. He showed me some photos of her and he said to me that they were planning to book me together. And I was sort of like, oh, okay, so you've just decided to see me on your own first. And he's like, no, she actually doesn't know I'm seeing you. And I was a bit like, oh, this is a bit weird and it's really not my business, but it does feel a little bit weird. Surely you would tell her that you were coming to see me if you discussed booking me together. Anyway, you know, as an escort, there's a lot of things that we just try not to think about. We just ignore. We compartmentalize. We're like, yep, that little piece of information, I'm going to put that in a box and I'm just not going to think about it. After about 10 minutes of us being back in the lounge room, his phone starts getting calls non-stop. He ignores a few of them, but they won't stop. And he answers. And it's his girlfriend. And she was like, I have a tracker on your phone. I can see where you are. What the fuck are you doing? Valid, absolutely valid response, girl. They start arguing back and forth, and he makes up lies that he's there seeing a friend, that he's there seeing a mate. She pretty much calls him out. She says, I know you're fucking full of shit. What are you doing? And if I remember right, when I heard part of that call, because I was just being quiet in the background, she said, if you're seeing an escort, you should have told me because we were going to do it together. He's like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Like, still wasn't even admitting what he was doing. Now, that phone call, I want to say, went on for about 20 minutes. And she was getting more and more angry because he was lying. And she caught him in a lie. And I don't fucking blame her. I would be annoyed too, because all she was saying was just admit to me what the fuck you're doing. And he still couldn't. So, you know, it's awkward for me sitting there. I'm on the clock. Like, I'm getting paid for this time, and I'm sitting there just having to be quiet because I don't want her to hear me because he's asked me to be quiet. Anyway, he eventually hangs up on her, and he tries to, like, get back into the booking, right? At this point, maybe we've got an hour and a half left, something like that. And he tries to get back into the booking, and again, his phone will not stop calling. And I said to him, do you just want to tell her that I'm here? Do you want her to come here? Like, do you just want to do the booking together? Like, I don't know, is she gonna hurt me? Like, as long as she's not violent, we can make something work. And he was like, no, that's not a good idea. That's not a good idea. Being as green as I was, keep in mind, if you're an escort watching this and you're like, oh, what an idiot, I would have left, I would have done this. I had no fucking friends in the industry. I had no idea what to expect, and it was my first fucking booking. I didn't know any better, okay? I really didn't. I didn't have guidance. I didn't start in a broth. This is just where I started, okay? So the phone is non-stop calling. Non-stop calling. And eventually he answers again. And she was screaming. She was hysterically screaming. And she was threatening. She was saying she was going to come to where the phone was, which obviously would put me in harm's way, etc. And he was telling her not to. He was saying he was going to kick her out if she did, or whatever it was. Their fight, I'm not joking, probably went on about 45 minutes on the phone of them screaming at each other and him lying. And there was even a point where she asked him to video where he was, like video call. And he was just avoiding the couch that I was sitting on. He was showing everything else but me. And she was like, what's in that corner? What's in that corner? And he was just acting like he was fucking Mr. Slick, getting away with this shit. Anyway, their conversation gets more and more heated, and he's lying more and more. And it was like, you could tell it was quite toxic. What happens is she actually threatens to end her life. Which is not something I want to go in great detail on here, because I don't want her to feel like she's getting exposed. But she threatened to end her life, and she actually ended up hanging up. Then he tried to call her back because obviously he was worried. She wouldn't answer. About 10 minutes after that, he'd been pacing up and down saying, no, she's serious, like she's not the type to lie about this. She sent through photos of her wrist completely slashed from wrist to elbow, pretty much, like vertically down. And he showed these to me. Mind you, I've only just met him this night. And he says to me, oh my God, like, she's really done it, blah, blah, blah. And I said to him, babe, like, there is 20 minutes left on this booking now. I think that I should go because this is really fucked up. Keep in mind, at this point, we've done nothing. We haven't even kissed. But this has all happened on the clock, on my time, and I shouldn't have to hang out there for free. That's just how the industry works. And he's like, oh, but like, I want to extend, like, we haven't even had sex yet. Like, can I extend for another hour on the end of the booking, and we'll have sex now, kind of thing. And I'm like, babe, I don't think this is the type of setting that you should be having sex with an escort. I think you should be leaving here right now and going to the hospital to check on your fucking girlfriend. Not here with me, not doing this. Because this situation is really fucked up. Like, it is proper fucked up, and there was no way I could get in the mood with all this going on. And I don't know how he would have. How would he be able to get in the mood when he's fucking an escort, but his girlfriend is in hospital? She's in hospital because she's tried to kill herself, because you're lying to her. Like, it is just beyond fucked, beyond fucked. So without too much argument from him, he ended up agreeing with what I was saying, because I'm pretty stern when I want to be, like telling him he really should be in the fucking hospital. And there was about 10 minutes left on the booking. I packed up my stuff and I left. And I honestly didn't think I would ever hear from him again, just given the situation, given she was really angry about it. And given that I sort of refused this time extension, I wanted the money, sure, I would have done another hour, but this was not the setting to do another fucking hour. He should have been at the hospital with his girlfriend, okay? Anyway, 2 or 3 days pass and I get a message from him saying that him and his missus would like to see me together. Yeah, I feel like that should be another story. Keep in mind, I wouldn't normally disclose this much about my bookings. However, this is a client I have fired, which I can do a whole fucking series of videos on this client because it gets more and more fucked up, the things that he's done. And so I don't really feel like I owe him any privacy or loyalty about what goes on in his bookings, if that makes sense. I feel like when it gets to the point of firing somebody, I no longer owe them that. I would never share his name or his business or anything like that. But what I will share is, 3 months later, when I finally had friends in the industry and I had somebody to teach me how to screen clients, this guy was dangerous as fuck. That's what I'm gonna say. But yeah, if you guys would like to see the second part to this of what happened in the second booking, which I did go and do, I will share that with you. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed this little ramble. My back hurts laying like this, so I probably shouldn't film videos this way, but I didn't want to disrupt the cats because, they love it here. This is what they do all day, lay down next to me while I do shit. Anyway, that's that. I hope you guys have had a great day.